Let's be honest for a second. In today's world, with dating apps, social media, and endless options at everyone's fingertips, it's easy to feel like you're constantly trying to compete for a man's attention. You might be thinking, how do I stand out? How do I keep him interested, attracted, obsessed? But let me flip that question for you. What if the real goal wasn't just to attract a man, but to have him magnetically drawn to you, to the point where he craves your presence, your energy, and yes, your body in a way that goes far beyond surface level desire? See, we hear phrases like, make him sexually addicted to you, and it immediately brings to mind tricks, techniques, or some kind of manipulation. But here's the truth, and this is crucial. Sexual addiction, the deep kind that makes a man fantasize about you even when you're not around, isn't about being the most physically attractive woman in the room. It's about being the one who touches his mind before you ever touch his body, the one who intrigues him, challenges him, and leaves him thinking about you long after the conversation ends. It's about creating a level of connection that feels rare, because when something feels rare, it becomes irresistible. Today, I'm going to walk you through 5 powerful principles that make a man not only want you, but feel like he can't get enough of you. Not because you've changed who you are, but because you've stepped fully into the version of yourself that is already magnetic, confident, and unforgettable. Let's get into it. Emotional foreplay to physical foreplay. When people think of attraction, especially sexual attraction, they often jump straight to the physical. The way you look, the way you dress, the way you move. And while those things definitely catch attention, they're not what holds it. Physical foreplay might start the engine, but emotional foreplay is what makes a man obsessed with the entire ride. Because here's the secret, the brain is the biggest sex organ. If you want to be unforgettable in bed and outside of it, you don't start by touching his body, you start by touching his mind. Most people don't do this. They rush the process. They think being sexy is about being obvious, overt, or constantly available. But when a man meets a woman who knows how to seduce with her energy, with her tone, with the way she speaks, listens, teases, challenges, she's no longer competing with the rest. She's in a category of her own. Emotional foreplay is everything that happens before physical touch. And honestly, it's what determines whether physical touch will even be meaningful or memorable. It's the slow burn, the witty banter, the slight pauses in eye contact, the well-timed sarcasm, the confidence to say what you think instead of what you think he wants to hear. It's showing that you have a brain, a boundary, and a standard, and you're not afraid to use all 3. When you emotionally stimulate a man, you make him feel something. And in a world full of numb, surface-level connections, making a man feel is powerful. It makes you dangerous in the best way. Ask yourself this. When was the last time someone made him feel seen, excited, nervous, challenged all at once? When was the last time someone made him wonder what's going on in her mind? That curiosity, that's emotional tension. And emotional tension creates sexual tension, the kind that lingers long after you've left the room. You want a man to fantasize about you. Don't give everything away. Don't rush to be understood. Don't feel the need to overshare to feel connected. The art of emotional seduction is in the space between what's said and what's not said. It's in the moments where he's leaning in, asking himself, who is this woman? How does she make me feel like I've known her forever and still don't fully have her? That's what makes you addictive. And here's what most people get wrong. They assume that being emotionally open means telling your whole life story. No. Emotional foreplay is about emotional intelligence, not emotional dumping. It's about knowing when to reveal, when to withhold, and how to navigate the moment with grace and self-awareness. It's about vulnerability with boundaries, charm with authenticity, confidence without ego. You don't need to be the loudest, the boldest, or the most seductive person in the room. You just need to know how to create charge, and charge comes from contrast. It comes from being warm but grounded, playful but poised, open but self-respecting. When you engage a man emotionally, you become more than a sexual experience. You become a mental obsession. He doesn't just want your body. He wants access to your mind, your energy, your essence. And when you can master that, the physical part isn't just better. It becomes electric because it's no longer about release. It's about connection, depth, intensity. And that's the kind of intimacy he won't be able to replace. So don't just aim to turn him on, aim to turn his world upside down. And it starts always with emotional foreplay. Be confident in your desires as without needing his approval. One of the most magnetic traits a woman can embody is desire, owned, expressed, and unapologetic. But here's the twist. Most people think that desire only becomes powerful when it's reciprocated, as if it only has value if he wants you back. And that's the first mistake. The real power lies not in being desired, but in owning your desire regardless of what anyone else thinks. See, confidence isn't about pretending not to care. It's about caring without losing yourself. It's looking at someone and saying, I want you. I find you attractive. I'd love to explore this. And saying it with zero desperation, zero neediness, and zero fear that his response determines your worth. That kind of energy. It's irresistible. Why? Because it's rare. Most people play it safe. They suppress what they feel to avoid rejection. They hide their attraction behind sarcasm or detachment. They wait for the other person to make a move, to show interest first, as if being the one who wants more automatically makes you the one with less power. But here's the truth. Desire doesn't make you weak. Neediness does. Neediness is when your self-worth depends on his reaction. Confidence is when you can be vulnerable without attaching your value to the outcome. When you're confident in your desires, you say things like, I'd love to see you again. But if not, I'll still sleep like a baby tonight. Not because you're pretending to be detached, but because you know that your life, your peace, and your joy don't revolve around whether or not someone chooses you. And that is what makes a man lean in, because suddenly you're not trying to fit into his world, you're inviting him into yours. He's not chasing a woman who's seeking approval. He's chasing a woman who knows exactly who she is and what she wants and isn't afraid to say it out loud. It also makes intimacy far more powerful. Why? Because when a woman owns her sexuality without shame, without waiting for permission, she sets the tone. She becomes the leader of the energy in the room. She shows that attraction isn't something she has to earn. It's something she creates. And let's be honest, there's nothing more intoxicating than someone who desires you but doesn't need you. That's when attraction transforms into curiosity, into admiration, into obsession, because you're no longer just the one being chosen, you're the one doing the choosing. But this confidence doesn't come from pretending, it comes from self-trust. You trust that if this man doesn't respond to your interest, you'll be fine. You trust that if he doesn't see your value, someone else will. You trust that your worth isn't hanging in the balance every time you send a text, flirt, or express what you want. You're not waiting for his green light to feel sexy, worthy, or desirable. You've already decided those things for yourself. And when you move through the world like that, with self-assurance and a bit of boldness, you become incredibly rare, because while everyone else is busy waiting for validation, you've already shown up as the most powerful version of yourself, a woman who knows what she wants, says it clearly, and still walks away with grace if it's not returned. That's the kind of confidence that doesn't just attract men, it captivates them. And in the long run, it's not the prettiest face or the most perfect body that stays in his head. It's the woman who made him feel chosen, but never needed him to choose her back. Leave space for him to chase. If there's one principle that has stood the test of time and attraction, it's this: people value what they have to earn. And when it comes to building real lasting desire, the concept of space, the ability to step back and allow someone to come towards you, is often more powerful than anything you actively do. Now, this isn't about playing games or pretending to be busy. It's not about ghosting someone to get their attention or being emotionally unavailable on purpose. That's just insecurity in disguise. This is about creating room for curiosity, room for pursuit, room for him to invest. See, the early stages of attraction are like a dance. If you take every step for him, if you lead every move, if you constantly fill every silence or chase every reply, the dance falls flat. There's no rhythm, no tension, no opportunity for him to step in and pursue. And here's the truth: men, just like women, are wired to value what feels meaningful. And nothing feels meaningful if it's handed to you on a silver platter with zero effort. When you're always available, always initiating, always quick to respond, you send an unspoken message: you don't have to work for this. I've already decided you're worth everything, even if you've shown me very little. But when you leave space, when you slow down the energy, when you're not always the first to text, when you focus on your life instead of orbiting his, you create contrast, you create distance that invites movement. You create the space for him to chase. Now, let's be real, the idea of leaving space can feel scary, especially when you like someone. When there's chemistry, when you're excited, you want to share, you want to connect, you want to keep that momentum going. But here's the reframe. Leaving space doesn't mean withdrawing love or withholding affection. It means having boundaries. It means being rooted in your own world, your passions, your plans, your peace, so that his presence becomes a bonus, not a necessity. That kind of independence, it's unbelievably sexy. Because when a man sees that you're not waiting by the phone, that your life is full and vibrant with or without him, he starts to wonder, how do I become a bigger part of her world? And that's when you shift the energy. Instead of constantly showing him why you like him, he starts showing you why he deserves you. This is how you separate yourself from the rest. Most people are afraid to leave space. They chase connection at all costs. But in doing so, they rob the other person of the opportunity to step up, to invest, to lead. And when someone doesn't have to invest, they don't value what they're getting. It's human nature. So remember, leaving space is not rejection. It's respect for yourself and for the natural rhythm of attraction. It's understanding that silence doesn't mean the spark is dying. Sometimes it's what allows the fire to grow. Let him feel your absence. Let him notice your presence isn't a given. Let him miss your laugh, your energy, your scent, the way you made him feel when you looked at him like no one else did. Because if he never has to wonder where you are, he'll never feel the urgency to come closer. Attraction isn't just about being near someone, it's about feeling the pull toward them. And when you learn how to step back with grace instead of leaning in with fear, that's when the chase becomes real. And the man who's truly meant for you, he won't just chase, he'll rise. Connect beyond the bedroom. Let's set the record straight. Being amazing in bed is great, but it's not enough to keep a man coming back, not for the right reasons anyway. Because here's the truth. Sex doesn't create connection. Connection makes sex unforgettable. If you want a man to be addicted to you, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually, you have to give him something that goes beyond skin. Something that leaves a mark after the clothes are back on. And that something is how he feels when he's around you. See, a lot of people pour everything into being sexually desirable, the right lingerie, the right moves, the right lines. And while there's absolutely nothing wrong with expressing your sexuality, in fact, it's part of your power. It becomes one-dimensional if it's all you lead with. Here's the truth: a man might stay for a while if he's only physically attracted. But the man who keeps choosing you over and over again, he's the one whose heart, mind, and soul feel fed by your presence. And that comes from the connection you create outside the bedroom. Laugh with him, tease him, be curious about his world, share what lights you up, have real conversations that aren't just flirtation, ones where you talk about what matters to you, what excites you, what scares you a little. Those are the moments that build a foundation far stronger than chemistry alone, because sexual energy without emotional depth fades quickly. But when a man associates intimacy with feeling seen, safe, and stimulated in every way, that's when he starts to crave not just your body, but you. And here's something powerful: when a man feels emotionally connected to a woman, his attraction to her multiplies. He finds her more beautiful, more magnetic, more desirable, not because she changed, but because he now sees her through a deeper lens. Think about it, anyone can give him pleasure, but very few people can give him peace. Very few people can sit with him in silence, and somehow even that silence feels fulfilling. When he finds that with you, you become irreplaceable. Also, don't underestimate the power of play. So many women and men get serious in dating too quickly, trying to prove they're ready or wifey material. And they lose that sense of spontaneity, that lightness, that playful banter that makes connection fun. A man is far more likely to get emotionally attached to a woman who knows how to enjoy life, who doesn't need every interaction to be intense or future focused, who knows how to be in the moment, whether that's at brunch on a road trip or lying in bed post-intimacy, laughing about something stupid. The real magic happens when he starts looking forward to all the things that happened before and after the sex. The random texts, the eye contact across a room, the moments where you nerd out about your favorite book or he teaches you something you didn't know. That's what keeps you in his mind. That's what makes him feel like, there's something about her I can't quite explain. I just don't want to let it go. So yes, be amazing in bed. Own your sexuality. Love your body. Express your desire. But don't rely on that alone. Because if that's all there is, it becomes transactional. But when sex is the expression of a deeper connection, when it's layered on top of laughter, trust, shared values, curiosity, it becomes addictive in a whole new way. Not just for a night, but for as long as he's lucky enough to have you. Create contrast, be sweet and seductive, grounded and wild. There's a reason why some people stick in our minds more than others. It's not always because they were the most beautiful or the most accomplished or even the most perfect. It's because they were unpredictable in the best possible way. They had layers. They kept you guessing. And that's exactly what contrast creates, magnetism. If you want to be the kind of woman a man thinks about constantly, not just when he's horny, but when he's lying awake at night wondering why he can't shake the way you made him feel, then you need to understand this truth. Contrast is irresistible. We are drawn to people who surprise us, who show us different sides of themselves that don't easily fit into a box. A woman who's sweet and seductive, grounded and wild, creates tension in the most intoxicating way. She's not one-dimensional. She's dynamic. She's full of paradoxes, and that makes her unforgettable. Most people make the mistake of thinking they have to pick one lane. They either lean too much into the nurturing, nice girl energy, soft, agreeable, always there, always sweet, and eventually feel overlooked or taken for granted, or they go full on badass mode, independent, dominant, no nonsense, but end up intimidating or emotionally closed off. The secret is to hold both. Be the woman who can melt in his arms one night and challenge his thinking the next. Who can whisper something wild in his ear, but then talk about her goals, her boundaries, and what she's building with absolute clarity and conviction. Be playful, then serious. Be wild, then grounded. Keep him on his toes, not with games, but with the richness of your personality. Why is this so powerful? Because men, just like anyone, fall for people who make them feel alive. And nothing creates aliveness like surprise, like wondering what's next, like feeling there's always something more to discover. When you lean into contrast, you activate both sides of his desire, the part that craves safety, softness, and connection, and the part that wants adventure, mystery, and seduction. When you show that you can be his peace and his passion, his home and his fire, you stop being the type he's used to. You become the exception, the woman who makes him question what he thought he wanted, because now he wants all of you. But let's be clear, contrast isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about letting your full self come through without shrinking any part of it to be palatable or to fit into some idea of what a good woman or sexy woman should be. You can be emotionally intelligent and wildly playful. You can be nurturing and fiercely self-protective. You can be classy and completely uninhibited. You can be the woman who sends butterflies to his stomach and shivers down his spine. In fact, you should be, because that contrast is what keeps things alive. It's what makes you magnetic long after the physical attraction levels off. It's what turns chemistry into addiction, not because you're manipulative, but because you're real, layered, and fully expressed. So don't flatten yourself to fit an expectation. Don't silence your wild to be respectable, and don't hide your tenderness to be horn-touchable. Instead, own your wholeness. Let your softness amplify your strength. Let your sensuality coexist with your self-worth. Let your lightness live alongside your depth. Because when a man experiences you in contrast, he realizes he's not dealing with just any woman. He's dealing with a force. And that kind of force, he doesn't just desire it, he becomes addicted to it. So here's the truth. If you want a man to be sexually addicted to you, it's not about bending over backwards to be what you think he wants. It's not about chasing, performing, or proving your worth. It's about embodying your full power emotionally, mentally, physically, and showing up as the woman who owns her desire, her standards, and her energy without apology. You become unforgettable not when you try to be everything, but when you start being fully yourself, the woman who stimulates his mind, not just his body, the woman who gives him room to chase, not because she's playing games, but because she's busy living a life she loves. The woman who brings both fire and softness, laughter and depth, wildness and calm. That woman, she doesn't beg to be chosen. She chooses herself, and in doing so, she becomes the one he can't stop thinking about. So here's what I want you to do. Starting today, stop asking, how can I make him want me? Start asking, how can I be so aligned, so confident, and so magnetic that he'd be crazy not to? Own your space. Protect your energy. And when you walk into the room or into his life, bring the full, unapologetic version of you, because you don't need to manipulate a man to make him addicted to you. You just need to show up as the woman who knows she's already worth getting addicted to. Now go out there and be her.